Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the final segment of the show. It's now time to take a look at what Sidra Zaidi has to say for us this week. Let's take a quick look.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sidra and I'm your life coach. This week we are talking about flexibility and how flexibility can actually help you become more happy. One of the reasons why people feel frustrated, angry, disappointment and upset is actually they have a fixed mind. They want the things exactly the way they expected. And if something doesn't go their way, they feel all these emotions coming up because they're being so rigid. And it's been said that nothing is constant but change. And what we're doing is consistently trying to control change, trying to resist change, and that has a knock-on effect on our peace, calmness and happiness because we're too busy trying to control events, trying to control things. So the technique I'm going to share with you is right from the beginning. When you're setting yourself a target or a goal, flexibility is in the intention. And as we know that whatever happens for a best reason, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always the highest intention for us. So if something doesn't go our way, that must be a better reason. Because Imam Ali alayhi salam once said that if my dua is accepted, I'm happy that I'm given what I wanted. And if my dua is not accepted, I'm more happy because I'm given what my Creator wants me. So this is the key to setting our goals and being flexible. So when you set a goal, for example, if you want a black car or if you want to achieve certain grades, say, I want this or something better. So what you're doing here is actually you leaving the room for being flexible and you're not being so fixated on the outcome. And if thing doesn't go your way, you say to yourself, what can I learn from this situation? And you're being flexible and giving yourself permission to be much more happier with the results you get. Good luck with that one. If you want any more information, please feel free to email me at morningbreak@ahlulbayt.tv. Assalamu alaikum.
Well, actually, I agree with that point. The fact that, if you are flexible, then obviously it means that you're less likely to get upset when, things don't go your way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something that, it is true. It's really frustrating sometimes to think that there's nothing that we can control in life, really. And that, I guess, that's why faith is so great as well, because, you understand that there's a reason for everything and you just try to be positive about things. And that's what I like the most about what she said, which is that there is nothing we can control in life apart from the way that we are going to react to a situation. And just, again, it comes back to just keeping that focus, doesn't it? Because there's a difference. You can stay focused and be flexible. Do you know what I mean? It's just about seeing the positive in things. So, yeah, I think that was really valuable.
Yeah, being open-minded, which allows, obviously, flexibility. Yeah, definitely. I always find interesting what she has to say every week. But right now, it is time for Fact of the Week. So, Humaira, what have you picked out for us?
Well, being such a heavy coffee drinker myself, I read this and I was in shock. It says soft drinks, coffee and tea, although they are made up entirely of water, because they contain caffeine, the caffeine actually prevents the water from travelling to the necessary locations in the body, because the caffeine actually acts as a mild diuretic, I think is the word, which will, like I said, whereas normally the water would travel to the areas in your body which need it or which are dehydrated, the caffeine actually prevents that. So, for example, sometimes you feel like you have a headache and then you think that you want to, for example, if you're a heavy tea or coffee drinker, you think that you should go and have some tea or coffee to fix it. It will actually make it worse and it will actually dehydrate you further. The best thing to do is just to actually drink water, because that way it's pure water. When you mix it up with even juice drinks and things like that, because of sugar and possibly like caffeine as well, it doesn't have the same effect at all, even though it looks like most of it is water. It wouldn't be having the same effect.
So that means basically, coffee, tea, etc.
Any
Coke,
soft drinks,
that's all bad for you in a way, because it's seeing as I don't drink tea or coffee, but seeing as you're quite a heavy coffee drinker, What are you thinking now?
Well, this is the thing. The other day I had a headache and I was at work. I just thought, oh, I'm just going to go and have another strong cup of coffee that will wake me up. And my colleagues were like, no, don't have coffee. That's just going to make things worse. Have water. But I was like, how about I have some water and some coffee? But it's kind of like they're both counteracting each other. So yeah, really, I know I should drink more water.
But what about when people think, no, but I do drink coffee and my headache goes away, then does it not work then?
I don't know, I think sometimes it's psychological with that. I think sometimes you think that coffee, the reason that you're feeling a certain way is because you haven't drank coffee, but it probably doesn't even actually do that much to wake you up. I know with me, for example, if I drink tea or coffee before going to sleep, I can still sleep. Do you know what I mean? It's not keeping me up, so therefore it wouldn't wake me up in the first place. I think I've just got accustomed to the taste of it now. And so I think sometimes these things are just like psychological, aren't they? Where you're thinking that it's waking you up, and therefore it probably does.
Well, interesting fact. And I think all of us now, whenever we go for a tea or coffee, we're going to double think: do we really need to drink that? But it's time for us to wrap up. But just before we do, let's take a look at another part of Humaira's Ziyara video journal.
This was the area where they camped for the events of the 10th of Muharram. Okay, so many of you would have heard narrations of the 10th of Muharram that the many subgroups in Bani Hashim and indeed in the companions had their tents. So even if you listen to the narration, when Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam came back to the tents, he went to the tent of the family of Aqil, the tent of the family of Ja'far. He went to the tents of the companions as well. So there were a number of tents which were positioned in and around this area. The sadness of these tents really was the burning that took place after Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam passed away. When Shimr bin the Joshan ordered his soldiers to come and burn the tents of the Ahl al-Bayt. And really the magnanimous figure of Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, running from one tent to the other, protecting the orphans of Ahl al-Bayt in this particular area.
السلام عليك يا بنت سلطان الأنبياء السلام عليك يا بنت صاحب الحوض واللواء السلام عليك يا بنت من عرج به إلى السماء ووصل إلى مقام قاب قوسين أو أدنى.
Over here you've come to one of the saddest areas, which is where Sayyidah Zainab was sitting when she saw Shimr mounting the chest of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam.
It's not easy, wallahi, it's not easy to see even a chicken being killed in front of you. If chicken is not easy, what about the goat, cow, camel? What about human being? Not only normal human being, your brother. Subhanallah, your brother. So close, brother, to see him being slaughtered in front of you. I believe many people would go crazy, will lose their intellect. But it was not for Zainab salamullahi alayhi. And here we are coming closer where we can say we see the blessings of Allah. If someone is close to Ahlul Bayt, really if you ask Allah sincerely, your du'as will be accepted. We see here, was Lady Zainab, was she a ma'suma? Was she imam like other imams? No, she was not. But because of her attachment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she did dua. As you can see clearly, the earth went above in order for her to see. So we believe if we go there, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely, our duas will be accepted insha'Allah.
Well, as every week, I always find your Ziyara video very, very enthralling. What was it like? Well, obviously when you went to the Zainabiyya and you saw the place where, Lady Zainab alayhi salam, stood and watched everything. What were the emotions?
Well, we went, as you can see, we went when it was dark. and it just looks really even more beautiful at night because everything's lit up. And it's strange because unlike all the other places you visit, it's like built on like obviously because of what happened, it's on a mound. It's like on a little hill, and that's obviously what Tilla Zainabiyya is known for, right? Because of the fact that Lady Zainab alayhi salam like prayed to God that she could see what was happening, and then the ground lifted higher than, you know, leveled out. But it's just, I don't know how to. I always find it really sad on the level that a sister had to watch that happen to her brother. And then on the, if you go higher than that, it's the fact that someone was doing this to Imam Hussein, and then not just killing him, but actually that they sat on his chest, and the way that they carried everything out. And then on top of that, the fact that this is one thing I always remember. Actually, I think Sayyid Omar said is that this is the perfect example of how someone who isn't actually, for example, an imam, or someone who isn't like, you know, made of nur, for example. Their du'as can be answered because they have such a strong connection with God. There doesn't have to be, you don't have to have been this extremely pure, masoom person. You can develop a relationship with Allah that is so strong that you ask for something and it is literally, that's a miracle, isn't it? It's literally like a mu'jiza that ground lifted for her, and the fact that it stayed like that as well. And so I like the fact that it's got like been built on, so you can remember what happened there. But it's also quite sad because, you know, of the fact that you think about the distress that she would have gone through. I think, like, I remember that there's I don't know if you remember seeing brother Amar al-Nashid on the show, but he also recited Latmiya for Lady Zainab, and he said that in the words in it said something like, no one could have survived seeing what you saw. That's why I come like a slave knocking at your door. And I really like those lines because it's so true, and that's what Sheikh Ayub kept saying as well, that anyone who was to have seen what she saw would have gone crazy, literally, like, or would have killed themselves. Like, how could you bear everything? That's just not just your brother and how much you love him, but the fact that she lost her sons and everything. And so I think that is what that little, I know it's just like a little hill or whatever you would want to call it, but it represents so much. And that's what I see every time I look at it. So there's so much to take in.
You're absolutely right, and that's such a valid point what you're saying about the fact that, you know, it's so true that, you know, people always say, oh, they were infallibles, oh, they were masoom, so when they pray or when they do anything, it's always accepted, etc. But here, you know, Lady Zainab and her sister are, you know, prime examples where it's not declared that they're masoom or they're infallible, but yet it's obvious, and history's a witness the fact that they are very pious people, and people who are pious and on the righteous path. Of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept their prayers, and, you know, he's close to them, and it just shows that, you know, and it's the same, you know, even after obviously Karbala, when Lady Zainab went to Sham, where you obviously had gone before, you know, in your Ziyarah journal, you know, there are certain things, miracles that took place there, where it's quite obvious that her dua was, you know, was accepted, and how powerful it was. So that's something that we can take as a role model. But, you know, every week I look forward to your Ziyarah video journal, and I look forward to what we'll see, inshallah, next week, and inshallah we can catch that in the next episode.
Well, that brings us to the end of the show, so please do email us with any comments or suggestions or ideas for future shows, or feedback about what you think about the new segments on morningbreak@ahlulbayt.tv. Until the same time next week, from both myself and Fatima, Assalamu alaikum.
Said is actually they have a fixed mind. They want the things exactly the way they expected, and if something doesn't go their way, they feel all these emotions coming up because they're being so rigid. And it's been said that nothing is constant but change, and what we're doing is consistently trying to control change, trying to resist change, and that has a knock-on effect on our peace, calmness and happiness, because we're too busy trying to control events, trying to control things. So the technique I'm going to share with you is right from the beginning. When you're setting yourself a target or a goal, flexibility is in the intention. And as we know that whatever happens for a best reason, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always the highest intention for us. So if something doesn't go our way, that must be a better reason. Because Imam Ali alayhi salam once said that if my dua is accepted, I'm happy that I'm given what I... Assalamu alaikum, my name is Sidra and I'm your life coach. This week we are talking about flexibility and how flexibility can actually help you become more happy. One of the reasons why people feel frustrated, angry, disappointment and upset
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the final segment of the show. It's now time to take a look at what Sidra Zaidi has to say for us this week. Let's take a quick look.